I remember the exact moment I realized my memory wasn't what it used to be. I was 84 years old, standing in my kitchen, completely baffled by a simple grocery list I'd just written an hour earlier. The items on it looked like a stranger's handwriting, and for the life of me, I couldn't recall adding half of them. This might sound like a small hiccup. After all, we all forget little things now and then, but in that moment, an unsettling wave of worry washed over me. What if this was the first step toward losing the independence I'd cherished my entire life? What if next time I forgot something important, like a grandchild's birthday, or a friend's phone number, or even to turn off the stove? Many seniors face this silent fear, the possibility of memory decline that feels slow at first, then accelerates until we worry we won't recognize the face in the mirror. And it's not just about losing recollection of the past, it's about losing the ability to live independently, to make choices confidently, and to hold on to the little joys that make life meaningful. Sometimes our doctors or well-meaning family members tell us this is normal or just part of getting older. But in my experience, accepting that as fact only made me feel more powerless. That's why I decided to explore a visualization method that changed everything for me. Once I discovered how to apply this technique, I noticed something incredible. My memory sharpened in ways I never expected. Now, I'm not going to promise you some magical instant fix, but I will say that the approach I'm about to share can be a powerful tool to reclaim confidence and mental clarity, even if you're in your 70s, 80s, or beyond. By the end of this video, you'll learn 5 transformative insights about how visualization can enhance your memory and open new possibilities for your daily life. And here's the most exciting part. The final insight is something almost no one talks about, yet it can be the very key to unlocking memories you thought were long gone. You may be thinking, why should I trust you? Well, doctors and specialists are finally recognizing that age-related memory challenges aren't just about a failing mind. There's a growing body of understanding that the brain remains adaptable and responsive to new techniques, no matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake. The method I'll share today aligns with this newer thinking, so you're not just getting my personal perspective, you're also tapping into the promising developments many professionals are now discussing. Before we dive in, I'd like to welcome you to become part of our community here. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any of the life-changing insights we share. And if at any point you find this video resonates with you, please type 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to type 0 so I'll know how to improve. Your feedback means a lot to me, and it helps me create more of the content you find genuinely valuable. So let's begin by exploring how a simple shift in how you picture your daily experiences can have a profound impact on your memory. We'll go through 5 key points to show you exactly why visualization can be a game changer, the common misconceptions most people believe, and the specific steps you can take right away to see results. Imagine just for a moment being able to recall names, details, and cherished moments with greater ease. That's the kind of transformation that's possible when you harness the power of your mind's eye. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the surprising way visualization challenges traditional thinking about memory. Many folks in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s believe that memory is like a bank account, steadily depleted over time with no way to refill. I used to think the same thing, but then I stumbled upon a fascinating idea. The mind, even in our later years, can be trained to store and retrieve information more efficiently if we give it the right mental pictures. We often assume that memory is just about repetition. Repeat a name or a fact enough times, and you'll commit it to memory. While that's partly true, the real secret lies in anchoring these bits of information with vivid mental images. This is where the visualization method shines. By linking everyday facts, like a friend's phone number or a grocery list, to images that spark your senses and emotions, you effectively create mental pathways that are easier to find again later. Take Stanley, for instance. He's 76 and used to joke that if he were a library book, he'd belong in the lost and found section. He forgot appointments, lost track of his glasses, and often felt embarrassed asking the same questions repeatedly. After he started tying each fact he wanted to remember to a vivid image, a family member's face, a favorite vacation spot, even a memory from his childhood, he discovered that recalling details became simpler. It was as if he'd woven a thread back through his brain, connecting brand new information to something meaningful from his past. The surprising truth? Your brain is far more receptive to images and stories than to dry facts or numbers. If you're looking for a practical step, here's how you can start. The next time you meet someone new, instead of just repeating their name in your head, pause and imagine writing that name in big, bold letters on their forehead. It sounds silly, I know, but that mental picture helps the name stick. Or picture the name spelled out in bright neon lights above their head. The more playful and exaggerated the image, the better it lodges in your mind. The emotional benefit of doing this is tremendous. Instead of feeling anxious about forgetting who someone is, you'll experience a boost of confidence in your interactions. You might even find yourself looking forward to social events, knowing you have a handy tool to keep track of new names and faces. There's a natural relief that comes from realizing you have some control over how your memory works. Rather than feeling at the mercy of age and chance, you can shift from fear to optimism. When you take charge of creating bold mental images, you're opening doors to a renewed sense of personal power. It's the difference between drifting down a river without an oar and steering your own boat with purpose and direction. Now let's move on to the second key idea, something that flips yet another common belief about memory on its head. For a long time, we've been told that memory primarily resides in the brain, disconnected from the rest of our bodies. But more and more people are discovering that engaging your senses, touch, taste, smell, hearing, while forming mental images creates stronger, longer-lasting memory links. There's a misconception that once you hit 70 or 80, your senses become less reliable, and therefore, they can't really help you. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, even if your hearing isn't as sharp as it once was, or your sense of taste has changed, what matters is that you consciously incorporate whichever senses you do have into your visualization. Let me give you an example. If you want to remember your granddaughter's new address, associate it with the smell of her favorite cookie recipe or the sound of her laughter echoing in your mind. Tie the memory of her address to a sensory experience that makes you smile. Maybe it's the feel of kneading dough or the warm scent of cinnamon filling the kitchen. The key is to combine the address, those numbers or street name, with a sensory memory that tugs at your heartstrings. Consider Linda, 82, who'd get flustered whenever she tried to recall her medication schedule. She used to rely on alarm bells that felt cold and impersonal, but then she switched to associating each pill with the taste of her favorite herbal tea. One pill became mint leaf, another chamomile. She visualized sipping each type of tea at different times of day, feeling the comforting warmth of the cup in her hands. That shift turned a frustrating chore into a nurturing ritual. Her memory improved because the images she used were based on comforting sensory cues, and she began looking forward to each tea time throughout the day. The surprising insight here is that harnessing your senses in even small ways can knit your memory back together in stronger, brighter patterns. Here's a practical step to make this idea real. Pick something you often forget. Maybe it's a specific appointment time or an important date. Close your eyes and connect that fact to a vivid sensory memory you treasure. Perhaps it's a vacation spot from decades ago, or the aroma of a home-cooked meal you've always loved. Conjure up every detail, the colors, the temperature, the textures. You might be pleasantly surprised to see that recalling the appointment or date becomes easier because it's no longer just a bland piece of information. It's woven into a tapestry of sensory cues. When you apply this sensory-based visualization, you cultivate a sense of security and reassurance. Instead of feeling that your memory is slipping through your fingers, you experience the comforting familiarity of favorite scents, tastes, or sounds. It's like wrapping your memories in a warm blanket of personal experience, making them cozier and more accessible whenever you need them. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment 2 below to let me know you're here and engaged. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing that now so you won't miss any future tips. Let's keep going. The third point might catch you off guard. using small doses of excitement or even mild stress to lock memories in place. We often think stress is terrible for memory, and chronic stress indeed has negative impacts on overall health. But there's a subtle difference between debilitating stress and what I like to call a little jolt of adrenaline that can make a memory unforgettable. It's counterintuitive, right? We've always heard that stress is harmful, and that's true in large doses. However, when you purposefully introduce a small, controlled burst of excitement into your visualization, you create a mental highlight reel that stands out from the normal, everyday stuff. Here's the misconception. Many seniors believe they should avoid all stress to protect their health. While it's wise to limit harmful stress, there's a hidden truth that short bursts of excitement, like when you're thrilled about an upcoming event, can actually imprint a memory more strongly. Think about a birthday party or a surprise phone call you received. You probably remember every detail of that moment, down to what you were wearing and how you felt, because the emotional charge was so high. Imagine tapping into that sense of adrenaline in a gentle, controlled way whenever you want to cement a piece of information in your mind. Let me illustrate this with Martha, who's 78. She used to have trouble remembering the birthdays of her many grandchildren. She decided to link each birthday to a tiny surge of excitement in her imagination. Whenever she learned a grandchild's birth date, she'd close her eyes and picture hearing fireworks, a bright burst of color and sound, on that exact date. Her heartbeat would quicken just a bit, as though she was really witnessing a fireworks display. That fleeting sense of awe helped her store those dates vividly. Soon enough, she was calling her grandchildren on their birthdays without relying on a calendar. The technique seemed too playful to be true, but it worked because it lit up her emotional centers in a positive way. If you're curious how to apply this, the next time you come across a bit of information you're determined to remember, like a phone number or an important appointment, take a brief moment to imagine something thrilling. It could be skydiving, which might sound silly if you've never done it, or a carnival ride you enjoyed as a kid. Visualize your heart fluttering with excitement, then mentally attach the information to that feeling. Repeat it a couple of times with that mini adrenaline rush, and notice how it sticks better. The emotional reward here is a sense of empowerment. Rather than feeling at the mercy of a fading mind, you realize you can actually amplify the memory you want to keep. This small but potent form of self-directed excitement can inject a sense of playfulness into your day too. It's a reminder that life after 70 or 80 can still hold unexpected joys and discoveries, especially when you learn to spark these moments yourself. Now let's talk about the fourth key principle, the importance of creating a mental journey for your memories. We often assume that memories are stored randomly, but our minds naturally organize information into locations or pathways. It's a pattern that dates back to ancient times when people used the loci method, or memory palaces, to recall vast amounts of information by placing them mentally in familiar rooms or along well-known routes. The misconception is that these so-called memory tricks are only for younger folks or for professional memory competitors you see on television. But the truth is, you can adapt this approach to suit your life experience, no matter your age. Imagine the rooms of your own house, your kitchen, living room, bedroom, and porch. These are spaces you know intimately, possibly spaces you've known for decades. By visualizing a piece of information sitting in a specific spot, like a grocery list item perched on your favorite armchair or a phone number taped to the refrigerator, you give your mind an easy way to find these bits of data again. Consider Roy, who's 85 and still living in the home he built with his wife some 40 years ago. He started imagining that each item he needed from the store was resting on a different piece of furniture in his living room. Eggs were on the mantel, milk sat on the old coffee table, and bread was propped up against the window. He'd walk through his mental living room, picking up each item in order. Suddenly, shopping lists became so easy to remember that he rarely bothered writing them down anymore. The surprising insight is that your home's layout, or any familiar environment, can become an interactive map for all sorts of details, turning what used to be a mental jumble into a neat, organized journey. If you want to try this, start by choosing just 5 items you need to remember. Maybe it's a short list of errands. Picture each one in a different room or a different corner of the same room. The more outlandish or humorous the image, the better. If you're trying to recall pick up medicine, imagine a giant pill bottle wearing your favorite chair as a hat. It's silly, but silly sticks. Then when you mentally walk through that space in your imagination, you'll see the item and remember instantly. The emotional payoff is that wonderful sense of competence, of knowing you can rely on your own mental landscapes to keep track of what matters to you. If you're still watching and appreciate these ideas, please comment 4 below. And as always, feel free to subscribe if you haven't yet. Your engagement helps me continue making helpful content for you. Finally, let's talk about the fifth and perhaps the most overlooked aspect of using visualization for memory enhancement: revisiting old memories to strengthen new ones. Most people think of memory as strictly forward-focused. You learn something now and try to remember it for the future. But there's immense power in revisiting cherished moments from your past and weaving them into how you process new information today. Here's the common misconception. People believe old memories are just that, old, and have no bearing on what we learn now. But it turns out our brains can create new neural connections when we link past experiences with present learning. By intentionally revisiting a treasured memory, maybe a family reunion, a childhood vacation, or even a holiday from decades ago, and attaching a new piece of information to the sights, sounds, and emotions from that moment, you actually refresh the old memory while you store the new one. It's like renovating an old house. You keep the foundational structure, but give it new life. Let's see how it worked for Hazel, 79, who felt her memory slipping when it came to remembering people's names at church gatherings. Hazel decided to connect each new name she learned to a vivid memory of her high school prom. She'd conjure up the lively music, the smell of hairspray, the twinkling lights, and the feeling of stepping onto the dance floor. Then if she met someone named Bob, she'd picture him in a vintage suit, dancing right next to her. That unexpected combination of a nostalgic moment with a fresh piece of information glued it all together in her mind. Within weeks, she was recalling names effortlessly, and she reported feeling more mentally agile overall. If you want to try something similar, think about a milestone or a joyful event in your past that still feels special. Whenever you encounter new information you want to remember, spend a moment reliving that old memory. Then place the new information right into that scene. Picture it in detail. If you're remembering an address, see those numbers woven into the tablecloth at your childhood home. If it's a new recipe, imagine preparing it in the old kitchen from decades ago, smelling the fresh paint on the walls or the aroma of your grandmother's cooking. The emotional reward goes beyond just improved recall. You'll find that revisiting positive memories can boost your mood, reminding you of your resilience and the warmth of shared experiences. By integrating old and new, you'll gain a greater sense of continuity in your life, a comforting feeling that all your experiences, past, present, and future, are connected in a tapestry that grows richer as you age. Now that we've covered these 5 points, let's reflect on how they tie together. Whether you're linking memories to bold mental images, engaging your senses, adding a tiny spark of excitement, creating mental journeys through familiar places, or intertwining old recollections with new facts, the core principle is the same. Your mind can still learn in remarkable ways. Age might slow certain reflexes, but it doesn't have to halt your ability to store and retrieve cherished details. By embracing these visualization methods, you open yourself to a brighter outlook on what the future can hold. As we wrap up, think about what this could mean for you on a very personal level. Imagine waking up each morning and feeling a renewed sense of possibility. Instead of worrying about forgetting small tasks or special events, you trust your mind to keep them safe for when you need them. Picture yourself easily recalling names at social gatherings, birthdays of loved ones, or even that recipe your daughter shared with you over the phone last week. How would that change the way you see yourself, the way you interact with family and friends, and the way you live day to day? The urgency here is real. Every day we put off practicing these visualization methods is another day we might let small details slip away. Another day we risk believing the false idea that we have no control over our memory. But you do have power right now to start making changes. Even if you try just one of these techniques today, you'll be planting a seed for a better, sharper tomorrow. I'd love for you to pause and decide which of these 5 points resonates most with you. Is it the idea of combining senses? Or maybe it's the excitement boost or creating a mental journey? Which one feels like the simplest place for you to start? The best approach is the one you'll actually do, so pick something that sparks your curiosity or feels most natural. Then commit to practicing it for at least the next week and watch how your recall improves in subtle, delightful ways. Feel free to share your plan in the comments below. Maybe you'll say, I'm going to use that location method for my shopping list, or I'll connect new names with nostalgic memories. Your comment might inspire someone else who's struggling, letting them know they're not alone. Every success story is another piece of inspiration for our community. While you're there, consider hitting the like button, subscribing, and sharing this video with a friend or family member who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating this kind of content that uplifts and informs. Together, we can encourage each other to keep learning, growing, and thriving at every stage of life. Remember, your brain is still an incredible tool, waiting to be engaged in imaginative and purposeful ways. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you feel a renewed sense of hope and opportunity. If you carry just one thing away from this, let it be the knowledge that your memory can be nurtured, expanded, and enriched, no matter how many years you've lived. You hold the power to create, recall, and cherish the moments that matter most, and that's something truly worth celebrating.